We have another tasty show coming your way, but first, 76ers Now by Chat Sports is white hot. Over the last month, we've welcomed 1,200 new subscribers to the channel because we're doing things that other YouTube channels aren't, covering the latest Sixers news and rumors. And with James Harden in Philadelphia, man, we're really picking up steam. How quickly can we get to 5,000 subs? I'm from Philly. I know Philly likes to show out. If you want Sixers coverage that's entertaining and informative, join the family, hit that red subscribe button down below, and let's start today's show. You're watching Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. Hope all of Philadelphia is kicking off a great start to the week. How could you not? Because James Harden absolutely balling out in his first two games in a Sixers uniform, and people are calling the Sixers title favorites. They're saying that they're going to win the Eastern Conference. Kendrick Perkins is saying that Joel Embiid and James Harden are like Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Are we overreacting 2 games in to James Harden's tenure? Maybe a little bit. We know that Philadelphians can overreact because we just get so excited, but it's hard not to get excited with what we've seen from Harden, Embiid, as well as the young kid, Philadelphia's son, and Tyrese Maxey. But man, this Sixers team is really exciting, and if Embiid and Harden continue that 1-2 punch, they are going to be a serious factor to make a run at the NBA Finals for the first time since 2001. Now, we're going to have a little bit of a litmus test over the next 5 games. And after these next 5 matchups, we're really going to get a good indication as to how good the Sixers are and how much potential they have as a unit. Home and home with the New York Knicks. It's going to be James Harden's debut at the Wells Fargo Center on Wednesday night. He said the crowd is going to be turned. It certainly is. Cavaliers are a really good team in the thick of things in the East. Sixers take on Cleveland on the 4th. Miami Heat, in my opinion, are the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. I think they're more mentally tough than any team in the East. Chicago Bulls is a team that Philadelphia has fared very well up against, but they're a really good team led by DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Joel Embiid has always had Nikola Vucevic's number. And then on the 10th, it's the Brooklyn Nets. Now, Ben Simmons is not expected to play, but Kevin Durant is probably going to be back into the lineup, and that Nets team with KD has to be taken seriously in the Eastern Conference as well. So yes, 2 games in against Minnesota and the New York Knicks, Philadelphia's looked incredibly dominant, but we're going to see over the next 5 games just how good they are and how they stack up against some of the other top-tier teams in the Eastern Conference. But James Harden, no doubt, has been eating in his first 2 games with Philadelphia. He looks rejuvenated. He looks fresh. He looks really happy to be here. I mean, 27 points against Minnesota, 29 against the New York Knicks. His floor vision and passing ability on the fast break has been exceptional. Him operating in the half court has been great as well. And that's an area offensively where the Sixers have struggled over the last couple of years without Jimmy Butler, a guy who can get you a bucket in the guts of the game or in the half court when defenses change their alignment, they change their scheme, and they guard Philadelphia differently. They guarded Philadelphia like Ben Simmons couldn't shoot. Now they can't guard Philadelphia the same way because James Harden is a 3-level scorer who can put the ball on the hardwood, get to the deck, create for himself, create for his teammates, and shoot from anywhere on the floor because he is a walking bucket as soon as he crosses half court. Now, James Harden has also brought the best out of Joel Embiid as well as Tyrese Maxey. And for Maxey, that was the big question after the acquisition of the beard. How is he going to play off ball? I had confidence in him because when he was at Kentucky, him and Emmanuel quickly changed roles from being on ball, off ball, and he fared well in that role. But man, he's been lighting it up from all across the floor, Tyrese Maxey has. But Harden, Embiid, Maxey, a trio that has looked so good for Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey so far. First 2 games, Harden's averaging 28 points on nearly 58% shooting, 57 from beyond the arc. Embiid continues to look like his MVP self, averaging 35.5 points per game. He's getting the easiest buckets of his career with Harden on the floor because the floor spacing is there, and he doesn't have to worry about as many double teams, shooting 47% from the floor, getting to the free throw line a lot, and 33% from distance, which is really just okay. But Maxey, let's focus in on the young stud here in his sophomore season. 24.5 points per game the last two. He's shooting nearly 67% from the floor, and I think he's benefited the most playing alongside James Harden because he's had so many opportunities to let it fly without anybody guarding him from distance, and he's connecting on 62.5% of his three-point makes. This isn't sustainable. There's no question about that because percentages are going to play out over time, and the averages are going to be more realistic. But this three-headed monster has to be taken legit for the Sixers in the East right now. I say all of that, and I want to ask you this. Who's been the most impressive out of this three-headed monster? James Harden type JH, Joel Embiid type JE, Tyrese Maxey, the young bull, type TM. Get those votes in. It's going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, just scroll on down and get your votes in. Now, I talk about those percentages not really being sustainable. It's not. I mean, Tyrese Maxey is not going to continue to shoot 63% from the floor. James Harden isn't going to score a triple-double night in, night out. I don't think Joel Embiid, although I'm not going to put it past him, is going to average 35.5 points per game. But this team as a whole, even though I think they could use a buyout acquisition, has scary potential. And when I'm watching Harden and the excitement that he's brought to the team in the city of Philadelphia, I'm like, man, this reminds me of when Terrell Owens came to Philadelphia after the Eagles were trotting out some garbage wide receivers. I was at his first game in an Eagles uniform against the New York Giants, and you could just feel the palpable excitement at Lincoln Financial Field. And for Harden, look, he was miserable in Brooklyn. He didn't want to play alongside Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant continued to get injured, and he wasn't being used the way that Doc Rivers has used him in his first two games with Philly. And he wasn't happy at his workplace. And no matter if you're a professional athlete, and I know Harden is asked out of his last two destinations, or if you're an employee of a company, when you're miserable at work, your work performance is going to be impacted. That right there, folks, is just human nature, and that's what happened to James Harden. So people can call him a malcontent. People can say that his body language was bad, and it was. People can say that he threw some games. And look, that Kings game a couple weeks ago, one of the worst games I've seen from a superstar. He just didn't want to be in Brooklyn. He wanted to team up with his pops and Daryl Morey, basically. He wanted to play alongside Joel Embiid because he envisioned, and Daryl Morey and Joel Embiid envisioned, this pairing working out this way. Who wouldn't be excited about that? Harden certainly taking advantage of it so far. So we looked at the next 5 games for Philadelphia. Right now, they're in the 3rd spot in the Eastern Conference. Which team in the East worries you the most? For me, it's the Miami Heat. The Milwaukee Bucks are really good, but Miami just has that toughness. They have the best coach, and they have a really good defensive and offensive lineup that they can really stagger. Boston is really sneaky, and we know that they're in the heads of the Philadelphia 76ers. So those are some of the teams that scare me the most. You let me know in the comment section right now. Now, yes, James Harden jerseys, they continue to go off the shelves like crazy. Fanatics has actually run out of James Harden jerseys, and they can't sell them and ship them to some people all across the world. #1 selling jersey in the NBA. So if you can't get a James Harden jersey, how about this Allen Iverson jersey? This is the early 2000 retro Mitchell & Ness version, which is available limited time only on sale, $40 off, knocked down from $130 to just $90. I was rocking this back when I was growing up in Westchester as a young bull, and you can get it right now. Chatsports.com/Iverson. You plug in that link, you'll get $40 off by using our link, thanks to our friends at Fanatics. Shout out to Michael Rubin for that. I'm going to put that link in the comment section as well as the description of this video. Stitched on jersey, early 2000s throwback, and it's from Mitchell & Ness, which is an iconic Philadelphia brand. Cop yours right now by using that link down below. A much anticipated aspect of this show. Should the Philadelphia 76ers trade Tobias Harris after this year? And should they trade him for Zion Williamson? Loyal subscriber Cliff hit me up in the Twitter DMs at Chase_Senior if you want to talk Sixers hoops, by the way. And he floated this idea to me. And I was like, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Tobias Harris is traded. He's the highest paid player on the Philadelphia 76ers, and this year he has not lived up to those lofty expectations. I'm starting to believe that Tobias Harris is more of a good stats, bad team guy, although I think he's going to get better over time playing alongside the Beard. But in the first 2 games with Harden, he hasn't played well. He's one of the few players who has played worse with Harden because he's had a bunch of open offensive opportunities. He's also passed up some threes, especially against the Knicks from the wing. Pump fake, put the ball on the deck. Toby, let it fly, be aggressive. But 9 points per game with Harden in the first 2, 4 rebounds. He's shooting less than 28% from the floor and 36% from 3, which is respectable. And there were some signs of life at the end of that Knicks game. Once the game was in doubt, though, I want to see more from Tobias Harris. And he's one of the few players, as I mentioned, who has not been better playing alongside James Harden because Harden offers up so much floor spacing for guys like Embiid as well as Tyrese Maxey. He's done the same with Tobias Harris, but Toby has been reverted basically to the 4th option on this offense. But at the end of the day, if that 3-headed monster continues to play with movement like they've been playing and they continue to hum, who cares if Tobias Harris is getting paid that salary and he's the 4th option if the Sixers are playing as well as they've been playing the first 2 games. Now, for Zion Williamson, we know all of the rumors that are out there. He didn't reach out to CJ McCollum when McCollum got traded from Portland to New Orleans. JJ Redick on First Take had said, yeah, he hasn't been the best teammate. I was his teammate last year. Zion Williamson has some room to grow in that regard. And there's been so many rumblings about Zion no longer wanting to play with the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, if he were to get traded to Philadelphia for Tobias Harris, he'd have to sign a long-term contract extension in order to make the contracts work because Toby is on the books for a base salary somewhere in the neighborhood of $36 million. But Zion as the player is really intriguing under one caveat: when he's healthy. 24 games in year 1, and he was great. 61 games last year, and he was even better. 27 points per game, 7 rebounds. He connected on 61% of his field goals, and he's not going to let it fly from deep, but as a rim protector, he's good, although he can get picked apart defensively, offensively, and just as an athletic and physical juggernaut, Zion Williamson is great. But I don't like the fit with Joel Embiid, so I would not trade Tobias Harris for Zion Williamson, and I don't think that the New Orleans Pelicans would trade Zion for Tobias Harris, although this is a conversation that I think is going to continue to pick up some momentum going into the offseason. I think the Pelicans roster is solid. Devontae Graham, CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Jonas Valanciunas, like that core is pretty good, and if you put Toby on that starting 5, I actually think that from an on-court fit standpoint, he'd fit pretty good on that roster if the Pelicans wanted to trade Zion Williamson for Tobias Harris. But those Zion rumors are only going to continue to pick up. So if you could pick one of those 2 players to be a Philadelphia 76er, who would you go with? TH for Toby, ZW for Zion. Get those votes in. Thanks so much for making today's show a part of your day, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Have a great week. We're going to continue to push out content here on 76ers Now.